The knock sounded like a gunshot in the quiet hallway. 3 deliberate raps that rippled through my apartment and froze the tea halfway to my lips. That was the moment I realized some ghosts don't wait to be invited in. They sew themselves to you and drag you wherever they please. I always assumed the worst thing an ex could bring to my door was a bouquet of wilted apology roses, or maybe a drunken plea at 2 a.m. I never imagined he'd bring a version of me, stitched, stuffed, and pulsing with a terror I could actually feel. It began on a breath-stolen Sunday. I'd just set my phone to silent, trying to squeeze 1 more hour of weekend out of a lukewarm cup of chamomile and a true crime podcast playing too low to cover the thunder outside. When the knock came, it wasn't hesitant or courteous. 3 hammer blows that rattled the hinges. I glanced at the peephole, half expecting a neighbour complaining about the thin walls again. Instead, I saw him. Evan. Every fibre in me screamed to stay silent, but his grin was already widening, confident I'd oblige. The bolt slid back under fingers that shook harder than my mug. As soon as the door cracked, he shouldered inside, rain droplets clinging to his leather jacket like diseased pearls. Miss me, Saber? I hadn't heard the nickname since the night I'd left him. An argument cut short when I realized love shouldn't taste like blood in your mouth from biting your tongue. I stepped back, heart rabbiting behind my ribs. Evan, it's over. We've been over for months. Oh, I know. He bared perfect teeth, but some bonds are sewn deeper than you think. That's when he lifted the brown paper bag. He unrolled it with theatrical slowness, revealing a small figure, my breath trapped mid-chest. The doll was unmistakably me, the chestnut hair, the freckle near my left brow, the pink cardigan I wore in my profile picture. Worse still, it radiated a subtle warmth, as if it had a heartbeat. Do you like it? He asked. Hand-stitched, bathed in moon water, stuffed with graveyard moss and a few pieces of you. I mouthed, Pieces? He answered by opening a tiny pouch and sprinkling a few reddish-brown strands onto my coffee table, hair he must have stolen from my brush. My stomach turned. I came to offer you a deal, he said, fishing a silver needle from his jacket pocket. The metal glittered under my lamp. Evan, don't. He drove the needle clean through the doll's right hand. The pain shrieked through my actual palm, as though nerve endings had become telephone wires. I choked on my own scream and crumpled to my knees, clutching the invisible wound. Blood didn't bloom, skin remained unbroken, yet agony raged bright and raw. See, Evan whispered, we're still connected. He crouched beside me like a cat admiring a caught mouse. Take me back, Sarah. Tonight. No more running, no more lies. I'm not lying, I gasped. I have someone else now. Oh, Chris Drummond? The personal trainer / wannabe hero? His smile sharpened. From the bag, he produced a second doll. Broad shoulders, close-cropped yarn hair, tiny tattoo inked on the biceps, just like Chris's phoenix. He was harder to track down, had to snag a sweaty towel from his gym. Please, I begged, voice splintering, leave him out of this. I will, Evan promised, so long as you come with me. I booked us a trip, a little getaway to prove we belong together. He flashed 2 airline e-tickets on his phone, a red eye out of O'Hare, departure in 6 hours. Just you and me. Say yes, and neither of you gets hurt. He stood, pocketing both dolls like loaded guns. Pack light. We leave in 30 minutes. Oh, and if you're thinking of slipping away, remember the pin. His fingertip tapped the needle protruding from my doll's hand. Pain flared anew. Evan paced my living room while I stuffed a duffel with trembling hands. He hummed our old song, the one he'd blast whenever jealousy bubbled. Billie Holiday's voice syrupy sweet until you noticed the lyrics about doomed devotion. He caught me watching my phone. I disabled your Wi-Fi, he said. And if you try cellular? He dangled both dolls. Thumbtacked to Chris's spine. I nodded, cheeks wet, mind racing. When he looked away, rifling through my cabinets for tea I didn't own, I slipped into the bathroom. The mirror reflected a ghost, pallid face, mascara smudged by fear. With shaking thumbs, I opened our shared location app and pinged Chris my coordinates, adding 3 words. He has dolls. Before I could hit send, knuckles rapped the bathroom door. "TikTok, Sarbear." I pressed send anyway, heart in my throat. He ushered me down 2 flights of stairs, one hand fisted around the dolls, hidden inside his pocket, the other clamped around my elbow. Rain clattered on the apartment complex steps, each drop a metronome counting my dwindling options. His car smelled of burnt sage, a witchy attempt to mask something rotten. The drive to the airport blurred behind fogged windows. He talked in circles, about destiny, the cosmic thread that tied our souls, the way the universe punishes women who scorn true love. I tuned him out, silently praying Chris had seen the message. At a traffic light, Evan pulled the dolls from his coat like treasured pets. He stroked Chris's doll, smiling. "Your new man is brave. I respect that, but bravery can bend." His thumbnail dragged across the doll's cheek. Somewhere across town I pictured Chris flinching at phantom pain. Headlights sliced the dark behind us. Evan glanced at the mirror. "Staying close," he muttered, suspicion flickering. My phone buzzed in my purse, thin, terrified vibration. Evan's eyes snapped to the sound. "Who's that?" "Probably airline check-in." I lied. He snatched the purse, dug out the phone, and turned it off. My heart plunged. At the airport's economy lot, he parked far from the terminal lights, concealed by rows of sleeping SUVs. The rain had eased into a damp hush. Planes roared overhead like metal leviathans, indifferent. "Let's go," he said, shoving his door open. I stepped out into the cold, duffel strap biting my shoulder, mind pounding as loudly as my pulse. "Chris, please be close." A single pair of headlights rounded the corner, tires crunching wet gravel. Evan stiffened. The car slowed, a maroon sedan I recognized instantly. The door flung wide, and Chris stepped out soaked, chest heaving. He held a pistol low at his side. "Let her go," he called, voice cracking the silence. Evan's laugh cut the night. He raised the dolls like holy relics. "You followed the breadcrumb, hero. Admirable." I ran toward Chris, but Evan hooked my wrist. He placed the needle's point against my doll's temple. "Drop the gun or she bleeds from inside her skull." "Chris, he's serious," I cried. Chris's jaw flexed. Rain matted his hair to his forehead. "You call this love?" He spat. "Love doesn't lock people up in voodoo coffins." "That's because you don't understand devotion." Evan's eyes gleamed fever bright. "But lesson starts now." Chris lifted the pistol, slow, deliberate. "I'm not leaving without her." "Then neither of you are leaving at all," Evan whispered. His hand jerked. The needle plunged through Chris's doll's shoulder. Chris hissed, stumbling sideways as invisible shrapnel sliced his flesh. The pistol wavered. I screamed for him to run, to get the police, but the scene had already detonated into chaos. Through the blur, I heard myself shout, "The doll! Aim for the doll!" But my words tangled with thunder and fear. Chris steadied himself, raised the gun again, yet Evan was faster. The needle arced toward Chris's doll head, even as Chris squeezed the trigger. Gunshot cracked. Light burst white hot. The bullet struck my doll square between the felt eyes. Searing ice knifed through my skull, pain so pure it snuffed out sight, thought, breath. My legs folded. The pavement rose to meet me. In the same heartbeat, the bullet tore through Evan's chest. He staggered, disbelief warping his smile. Red blossomed across his shirt like a cursed rose. I heard everything in distant echoes. The gun clattering, Evan gurgling curses, Chris shouting my name through a mouthful of blood he couldn't see. My vision flickered between night and nothingness. Chris collapsed beside me, clutching his own head as if migraine talons dug there. The needle still speared his doll's skull, Evan's dying spite. Our fingers touched on the wet concrete, powerless marionettes tangled in severed strings. Evan crawled toward us, dragging his ruin of a heart, one hand smeared crimson, the other fumbling for the dolls. Mine, forever, he wheezed. I wanted to scream, fight, anything, but my mind fluttered like a moth inside a jar filled with fire. The parking lot floodlights flickered on at last, exposing the tableau. A man dying from a gunshot, clutching two dolls pinned together by needle and fate. A woman bleeding only in spirit, woundless yet mortally struck. A boyfriend twisting on the asphalt, every pained gasp mirrored by yarn and wax. Somewhere alarms wailed, maybe car alarms jarred by the shot, maybe security sirens. In the strobing flashes of emergency lights, I watched Evan press the two dolls chest to chest, stitching us together with his final breaths. Die with me, he rasped, knotting the thread. I tasted copper even though no blood touched my lips. Chris's eyes found mine. Tears cut paths through rain on his cheeks. I'm sorry, he mouthed. I wanted to tell him it wasn't his fault, that love and bullets and magic had spun beyond us hours ago, but my tongue was stone. The sky above wheeled, a plane engine roaring like some enormous judge calling time. When darkness crested, it felt like slipping underwater fully clothed, the fabric of life dragging me down, heavy with regret and old, unfinished symphonies. They found the three of us intertwined, dolls pinned between cooling chests. Police chalked it up to a lover's triangle that spiraled violent, never noticing the matching pinholes in our hands, shoulders, skulls. Evidence techs bagged the dolls as morbid souvenirs, shrugging at the craftsmanship. If any of them later pricked a finger on those pins, perhaps they felt a quick, inexplicable pang, like heartbreak flicking inside their bones. Perhaps not. Either way, our story ended there, stitch-bound in asphalt rain, an awful testament to devotion's dark twin. I am not here to warn you about restraining orders, or therapy, or the red flags you think you can fix. I am here because sometimes love borrows tools from nightmare folklore, and sometimes those needles are sharper than warnings can ever be. Listen for the hammer knock. Pray it never comes.